How many positive integers between 50 and 100 are divisible by 7? What are these integers? So part A wants us to find integers between 50 and 100. Between means that the 50 and 100 are not included. And we need to see how many between these two are divisible by 7. Of course, what you can do, you can just say, well, I know it's going to be 56, 63, 70, 77, 84. So you're just going to add 7 until you get to the very last one, right? So 91 and 98, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So the answer would be 7. But the shorter way, this will work only when you have a few numbers, right? In this case 7. But what if you're given a large set? You're not going to keep counting until your last day of your life, right? So there's a shortcut to this. The shortcut is to see that, first of all, count how many integers are between 50 and 100. You know that there are integers, precisely 49 of them, right? Because 50 is not included. So if you start counting from the 51st to the 99th, you will have counted 49 integers exactly. So what you do is you divide 49 by 7, and that's all, right? Because you're talking about the division by 7, right? So you divide 49 integers by 7, and you will see that there will be exactly 7 such integers. So this is the shortcut way. And of course this will save you when you have a very large set, way larger than this, right? As we will see in the next problem. But actually here's where you're going to be a little bit surprised. Here we need to divide by 11, right? So we need to find the number of integers between 50 and 100 that are divisible by 11. Of course, again, you can create a list. You know that the first one that comes to mind is 55, right? Then 66, you're going to add 11, right? 77, 88, and then 99, right? So the answer would be 5. But again, the shortcut to this is to divide 49 by 11. But you're going to say, wait a second, 49 doesn't divide into 11 evenly. So what you're going to do, you're going to use the ceiling function for the 49 divided by 11. And what does the ceiling function do? It gives you the greatest integer, the smallest integer greater than or equal to the value that you're going to get, right? So let's see what that's going to be. So why are we looking for the greater, the least integer greater than this value? Well, notice that since you're not including the 50 and 100, because you're talking about between 50 and 100, you're giving yourself more freedom, right? You're giving yourself freedom to round up, right? And not just round down, for example, right? So you may think that you're over counting, but you're still allowed to do that because you're not including the 50 and 100, right? So if you round to the nearest integer on top of this value, it's not going to hurt the result, right? So let's see how this works. So 49 divided by 11 is precisely 4.45 45, 45, 45, 45, right? So it's going to be repeating this part, 45, 45, 45. So guess what happens? The nearest integer on top of this, right? The least integer greater than or equal to this value is going to be precisely 5. Right? So we're not gonna say it's rounded to, because we're already talking about the ceiling function. That's exactly equal to 5. And guess what happens? The 5 is exactly the number of these integers that you found. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 of them, right? So this is a shortcut. Now the third part, as you might have guessed, is using the similar technique. But here's what the difference is. We're asked to find the divisibility by both 7 and 11, right? So both 7 and 11. So what does that mean? It means that you're essentially talking about dividing by 77, the least common multiple of 11 and 7, right? Because 77 is divisible by 11 and 7. But you might think, wait a second, we're talking about 49 integers. Are we going to divide them by 77? And by the way, the answer is 1, right? 77 is the only number between 50 and 100 that's divisible by both 7 and 11. So you might think, how can I divide by 77 if 49 is less than that, right? It's going to be less than 1. Well, here's where the ceiling function comes into play. The ceiling function will guarantee you that the result will still be an integer, right? And not some decimal answer or whatever, right? So 49 divided by the 77 is going to be less than 1, right? In fact, it's going to be, if we round it, is going to be something like this. 0.63, so this part will repeat. So guess what? This is less than 1. But the ceiling function makes sure that it's going to be rounded to 1. So that's exactly 1. And guess what? 77 is the only one, right? So 1 matches the 77 here, right? Because 77 is the only number between 50 and 100 that's divisible by both 7 and 11. Okay, so I hope this was a lot of fun. This is indeed a fun part of the counting principle, the basics of counting in other words, and I'll see you in my next example.